global nuclear disaster looms large. As our image is revealed, we find ourselves in New York City in October of 1960. Inside the UN General Assembly, Nikita Khrushchev is pounding his shoe and his fists, interrupting a special conference on Third World decolonization. This outburst quickly overshadows the purpose of the conference and forever remains a petulant symbol of communist defiance in an age of superpower hostility.
In each period of time you have their own image, and this image belonged to the Cold War. It was a very good image of the enemy, that banging the shoes, very unusual.
One person who remembers the image well is Sergei Khrushchev, son of the Soviet leader. According to the son, the leader was itching for a fight. Just 5 months earlier, in May, an American U-2 spy plane in the skies over the Soviet Union was shot down, and its captured pilot, Gary Powers, put on trial. But America was unrepentant and refused to end the spy flights.
My father decided that if the Americans say that can do everything what they want, he decided that he will bring all the world leaders to the United States, the United Nations, to discuss decolonization.
Khrushchev intended to press for greater freedom for Africa from Western powers. But a speech by British Prime Minister Harold Macmillan, deriding communist colonization of Eastern Europe, quickly set off Khrushchev's loud outburst. The Soviet leader later gives a speech railing against the West and is quoted in the media as saying, "I will bury you."
It became such legend, which of course was also very different, and he never told that he will bury Americans.
In reality, what he did say can be more closely translated as a promise that communism will outlast capitalism. Yet the world would remember this mistranslated threat to bury the West and the image of the Soviet premier banging his shoe. Khrushchev had hurt only himself, and he knew it.
He spoke, and after he banged his shoe and he thought, then he has his feeling that he went too far.
Despite Khrushchev's feelings, he would soon bring the Cold War to a boiling point. Just 2 years later, the world would come the closest it's ever been to all-out nuclear war in the Cuban Missile Crisis. And by engaging in this Cold War saber-rattling, Khrushchev became distracted from more pressing needs in his home country.
The main goal for him was just to catch up Americans in the production. It was the real race with America in his time, and he never achieved it.
Eventually, the Cold War would come to an end with the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. It was then that Sergei Khrushchev emigrated to the United States, becoming a citizen 8 years later. But for many, it's the historic image of his father that continues to symbolize the war of words that nearly brought the world to its knees.
Of course, I loved my father, and he loved me, and it was the family. He was a calculated person, like each successful politician. He had this image that he is very emotional. Sometimes he used it, and he liked to use it to threaten people. The same like in this case in the United Nations.
Four years after his violent outburst at the UN, Nikita Khrushchev was ousted from power. And though U.S.-Soviet relations would remain strained for almost 3 more decades, the glasnost of the 1980s proved once again that peace cannot be found in the banging of fists, but in the shaking of hands. For the History Channel, I'm Mike Rowe. Join me next time on The Most.